Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today we have a little bit of a different story for you. I hope I'm gonna adjust the volume in post because I have other family members in my house today because my mum has been really ill and she was in hospital basically all of last week, and she came home at the weekend. She's basically been in bed the entire time, so I've been running around like a little nurse, and they came to visit, but I felt awkward because I have stuff that I need to do today. I wasn't expecting it, and now I feel awkward because I'm talking to myself in my room. So I thought we'd do a fairly simple, kind of nice, quick, easy one for me to edit today, something a little bit different than I normally do. So today we're going to be talking about what happened to me last week on my way home from Germany. This is what I'm probably going to title Drunk Lady Ambulance Called Storytime. So I was coming back from Germany last week. You guys know that I work a lot over there. I'm signed with an agency called Model Work, who do an awful lot of kind of like awesome catalogue shoots and stuff. The plus size market is really awesome over there, and not only do I have them as an agency, but I also work there frequently. I have various clients such as Shigo, Bon Prix, Chibo, all sorts. So I was over there last week. I had one day shoot with Bon Prix, and then the next day I had meetings with my agency taking new Polaroids and stuff like that, just to update that they've seen me and what I look like in person. So that was all fine. I had my go-sees as well after my meetings there. Everything went really well. I had a really nice day, really productive chats about plans for next year's, client lists and things, stuff I wanted to work on, and it was just all around a really good kind of conversation, and I had a brilliant day. The shoot the day before, again, the client was really happy. They subsequently have booked me for 6 days in Cape Town next month, so that's all brilliant. Came home, late flight, EasyJet, quite standard, and then from Gatwick Airport I often have to get a train home, and this takes me anywhere between like an hour and a half to 2.5 hours. It just depends on like when the trains are and how quickly I can get to the South Terminal, because you know you have to take like the little like the train link to get you from one terminal to the other. So that was all fine. I got on a train. My train was a little bit delayed, but I made it home. I was due in about midnight. I ended up getting to my local station at about 12:30 at night. At this point it's kind of busy-ish. There's a few people milling around. My area is quite a safe area. I live in the countryside. I'm from Hampshire. It is kind of a fairly new town that I'm living in because we have recently moved, but again quite safe. There's a taxi office right opposite the station, so you can call if there's no taxis on the rank, and everyone kind of hopped in their taxis. There are a few sort of groups of lads and things. I kind of stood for a couple of minutes sort of rearranging my bags and stuff, and then I was going to go over to the taxi office and book one to take me home. I live less than 5 minutes in a cab to my house from the station. As I'm going to cross the road, I notice sort of out of the corner of my eye that there's this young man carrying like a big sort of rucksack, and he's kind of walked quite slowly past, and then he's kind of doubled back. So I kind of looked over to see what was going on over here to my left, and there's a little area of kind of like bollards, and I see this man kind of double back, stop, and then like I hear mumbling, and I look sort of a bit closer because it's dark as well, and I see what I think but can't see from where I am is a lady on the floor vomiting, or just completely out of it. I can't really tell by this point. And this young man's kind of now taking his rucksack off, checking if she's okay, and I'm there thinking, oh no, oh no. So I feel like, especially in today's day and age, men are maybe, and kind of rightly so, more wary of helping in situations like this because I think just the kind of climate that we're living in, it can be really tricky for men to know like when it's also safe for them to step into a situation like that and be helpful. Me being a fellow woman, I walked over to check if he was okay, helping her, and could I do anything, and it was at this point that we noticed that she was kind of slurring quite a lot. There was like a big pile of vomit, and her bag was kind of next to her but like strewn away. I then noticed that she wasn't a teenager, she was a woman, like we later found out, in her late 40s. I kind of put her at like 35, 40 maybe. She had no friends around her, like no partner or anything that I could see. I had no idea how long she had been there, but she was able to kind of tell us her name, that she'd apparently been on a train in London. She'd been to some like after work drinks with friends. She'd got a train and she was local to the area, as in like she had got off at the right station. She was able to tell us where she lived, which was, by our knowledge between us, somewhere that was local to here. But she was basically unable to move. She couldn't lift her head off the pavement, and she was saying like help me, and like basically just continuing to vomit. And then I think kind of panicking a little bit because she was throwing up so much that she was then getting breathless. So I knew that this wasn't really going to be an option, but I thought I may as well like go and see if she were to like sober up a little bit, or there was any way she could move, or we could get her in a cab with a bowl or something, if they had a driver that would possibly take her. I didn't think this was possible, but I mean, it's worth a try. Otherwise, as you'll find out shortly, it was going to be we have to call an ambulance. So at this point, I've died over the road. I've had a little word. I've dragged my suitcase there as well because I needed a taxi. The guys in the office knew that we were handling something outside, and so he let me kindly store my luggage in there as well, which was nice of him. And kind of as I expected, there's no way that any of our drivers will take her unless she sobers up really quickly, especially not if she's been vomiting. Okay, fine, not a problem. So I come back out to the guy, report this back to him, and he's in the meantime just been like comforting her, saying look, you're going to be okay, just make sure that you're either lying on your side or you're forward so she doesn't like choke on her vomit. And by this point, like, it's getting really, really cold, and so we both decide that she can't be left here. He's got a train to catch. It's getting on for 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, I really want to go home. Like, we have to help her. Someone needs to come and sort this out. And she's really, really ill, and she's also starting to get really, really cold. Apologies if you can hear the banging. We're having housework done, so I apologise. It's probably going to be like that for a few videos. So I call 999. I go through and I say I need the ambulance, and so I get onto the phone with this lady and I say basically I have a situation here where me and a young man who don't know each other have come off the train and discovered a woman very ill, vomiting, leaning forward, fully conscious, slurring, has had too much to drink, pretty sure no other injuries at all, but that she is very, very drunk and needs help, basically. She then proceeds to ask me a bunch of questions, and I am trying to ask this lady if she can help answer any of these questions. So she is able to give us her date of birth, her age, where she lives, and answer a few questions just by nodding or shaking her head at me of whether she's had things like chest pain. I have to kind of like touch her and just make sure if she's got like a temperature, does she feel clammy, stuff like that. If she's on any medication, has she taken any drugs, is she diabetic, all sorts of questions that, because she's conscious, I have to ask her, even though she's really struggling to answer me because she is vomiting so hard that she can hardly speak, which I did try to explain to the 999 person, but I do appreciate, especially as someone that has a best friend who is a paramedic, I do appreciate that they have to ask certain questions. And I said, look, this is getting really difficult because she can't answer me properly, like, have you sent someone? And she said, yeah, I am going to continue to ask you to try and ask her these questions. And I'm thinking, well, good fucking luck with that, mate. I got off the phone, the person that was asking for the extra information, apparently to forward on to the paramedic that was supposed to be turning up. She said that they would be between sort of 18 and 20 minutes if they did not get diverted. Now, my understanding of how this system works is that it is kind of categorized. So if someone in the same area or whatever was having, say, a suspected heart attack or something, because she's drunk and she's conscious and there's people with her and she's kind of relatively okay other than being drunk and violently sick, that they would, you know, our waiting time would increase because there was something more serious and life-threatening going on elsewhere. So the ambulance did turn up within about 20 minutes. In the meantime, this nice young man, no idea what his name was, he did actually put his coat over the back of her, like just the back bit, so that if she vomited, hopefully it wouldn't get on his coat. She was laying on her left side with a bag under her head to support it. Basically, she was curled up in the fetal position by this point, and we were both just like, you're gonna be okay, like, help, it's on its way, don't worry, like, we're both still here, no one's gonna leave you. And she was like apologizing and, I'm so sorry, I never do this. And yeah, the ambulance guy turned up. Funnily enough, he literally had no idea who this was or what was wrong with her, even though the lady on the caller was like, we need to ask you all this information so that we can pass it on to the paramedics. And I'm like, then the paramedic arrives, asks me all the same question, literally has no idea any of the information that I struggled so hard to give you. Anyway, besides the point, he says, thanks guys, this is, you know, this is fine, you've done a great job. If you've got places you need to be, then you can leave. So that was really nice. The guy in the taxi office had called me a taxi, who had turned up in the meantime and put my luggage into the car and had not charged me for waiting time, which was brilliant. Couple of things I want to mention here. The first thing is that one of the other taxi drivers on the rank had parked in the taxi rank bit. The ambulance, which was a car with a single paramedic in it, rather than the big truck with two paramedics in it, had kind of parked across the front of the taxi rank. This taxi driver that was parked there was an older gentleman, appeared to be completely unfazed or not noticing there was actually something quite important going on, and that there was a young woman in distress, very ill, her own fault or not, besides the point. Proceeded to kind of hint at the paramedic, are you really gonna park there? As someone whose best friend is a paramedic, it is absolutely diabolical to me that you would even think to say that to someone who is on the daily trying to save lives, or in situations like this trying to assist someone who's very ill and needs help, when all you have to do is reverse your fucking van back a bit. It's not that hard. So that's my first thing. I know that there's been a lot of things recently, especially that I've seen in like newspapers and stuff, where people are getting annoyed about ambulances or fire engines or police officers parking in places that are deemed like inconsiderate or whatever. But what you fail to understand is that the majority of the time, if it is a real emergency, then they will park as close as possible because there is a reason for them to be there. It fucks me off to no end that there are people in this world that would write some shitty note to my friend who has studied for 3 years, on the daily gets abused, kicked out at, you know, hideously treated by drunk people that need help, and saves the lives of many wonderful human beings and deals with all sorts of hideous things that she studied for, and then gets left shitty notes for parking in an emergency situation. That drives me insane. So these comments by this taxi man really fucked me off, and he's lucky at that time in the morning that I didn't say a word. So that's my first point, is it would be really nice if you are one of those people who would leave a note if an emergency vehicle, and I repeat, an emergency vehicle is blocking your driveway a little bit. It would be really nice if you didn't do that, because they only do this for a reason. My second point is, I have no idea how this lady, being in the state that she was in, even managed to physically step off a train without falling face first and cracking her face open or something. I have no idea how, in the state that she was in, she even made it off the train without someone else or the guard or a member of the public realising how ill she was. I also would love to know if the details of her night that she gave us were accurate, where the hell her friends were. It is so weird to me that you would allow one of your friends in that much of a state, unless she, you know, did not give us the correct information, on a train by herself, or himself for that matter, To me, it doesn't matter if you are a male or you are a female. If you have drunk too much and you are with your friends, it is, as far as I'm concerned, the responsibility of the people that are your friends and by proxy love and care about your welfare to make sure that you get home safely, or to make sure that you don't drink that much in the first place to get yourself into a potential situation such as the one that this woman was in when we found her. If that guy did not do a double take, I would not have noticed her, despite the fact that she was nicely dressed and she had a red coat on. It was so dark and she was behind a bollard, I would have completely not seen her. And if he had not turned up, I don't know what would have happened to her, because it was freezing cold and she probably would have died of hypothermia or something if she had not been found. I do not understand how your mates would not make sure that you got home okay, or accompany you, or say, I think you've had enough now, or try and get you to sober up on the train, or take you home with them. To me, it's unfathomable. When any of my friends and I have gone out, there tends to be, you know, we all drink. I drink much less now. I'm much more of a like, have some wine inside the house and not go clubbing. But when I used to go out with friends, and it's the same with my brother when he meets up with his old uni friends and stuff, if they go out on the lash and they're gonna be getting drunk and having a bit of fun and doing some shots and stuff, there is always at least, you know, 2 of them going home together, or making sure, like, if one of them overdoes it, then they all make sure they pick him up, they take him out, they get him some water. That to me is just what you do. You look after the people that you're out with. And although yes, it should not be your responsibility, if your mate has got into that kind of scenario, they should be responsible for themselves not getting to that point in the first place. We've all been there, we've all overdone it, and as far as I'm concerned, you look after your friends. I don't understand. I guess my final point is drink responsibly. I have been there. I've vomited because I've drunk so much. I'm sure we all have, especially as teenagers. I'm 26 now. It happens very rarely. And I drink in a different way now to, you know, the way that I drank as a teenager, as I'm sure most of you who are of a similar age to me probably do as well. But there is a point at which you do have to take responsibility for yourself, especially if you know that you have to travel home later. You need to be setting yourself a sensible limit and sobering up, you know, a couple of hours before you're due to travel, because you want to make sure that you are being safe and that you are going to get home safe, because first and foremost, that is your responsibility as an adult of drinking age to be able to get yourself home. Second of all, I feel like that kind of comes in where your friends should also be keeping an eye on you if you have failed to do the aforementioned part, which is drinking responsibly. So there you go. That was what happened to me last week. I feel like it is really important that even if these things aren't your problems, you do stop and you do help and you do kind of look out for other humans. I think that's just the nice moral thing to do. I know that if that had been my brother, or that had been me, or that had been my mum or whatever, I would want someone to stop and help as well. And I think that young man was also really pleased that I did, especially with the whole kind of culture of it being a little bit kind of scary for men to step into help, especially when there are women that are kind of under the influence. I think it's kind of a intimidating place for guys to be. So yeah, look out for each other, look out for yourself, take some responsibility when you are out, especially over this Christmas party season, and make sure that you are looking out for the people that you care about as well as yourself. Drink responsibly. And yeah, hit that thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you'd like to hear some more story times. I will see you in the next one. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and check out my reptile channel. See you in the next one. Bye.